Hello, Mordimers here, and today I would like to share with you the new name in the chess history. I've never heard about Josef Krejcik, so if you've ever heard about him, drop a comment. I'm really interested how many people, my viewers, actually know that name, because he was known for the one very specific reason, and I'm gonna start the new playlist about his games, and I will reveal this secret at the end of the video, so stay tuned because it's a very specific reason for having, a dedicated playlist on my YouTube channel. Josef Emil Krejcik. He was born in Vienna, so he was an Austrian chess master, problemist, a journalist. He had the chess column in some newspaper. He also had the leading chess magazine Wiener Schachzeitung, and he was author of some of the books, so nothing fancy so far. He was participated in many local tournaments before the First World War, and also during the war and after the First World War, so this is what we know. And he won only one, and it was shared first place with Hans Kmoch in 1921. All other tournaments he participated in many, he couldn't win. Why? Because he played against the top world players at that time. So for example, Friedrich Semisch won some of these tournaments, Reti, Richard Reti, Karl Schlechter, Rudolf Spielmann, the strongest players of that era. However, still, I want to show you some of the games of Josef Krejcik. Now, Josef Krejcik, according to chess metrics, we have a lot of his games, more than 60. His ranking 2380. He was 37 years old at that time when the game was played in 1922, and in this game he's going to play as white, and his opponent, chess giant Richard Reti, author of the Reti openings, knight f3, d5, and then c4, undermining this d5 pawn. I just showed you yesterday the opening which Jan Krzysztof Duda won in the brilliant game against Alexander Grishchuk. If you haven't seen that, check over there. And now Richard Reti actually won a lot of games against strong players. With his opening, he won against Capablanca. In the same tournament, he won against Aljechin. So he was definitely very strong player. At that time, number 8 in the world, and according to the chess metrics, his ranking 2668. He was 32 years old, so definitely on his peak, and in this game he's going to play as black. So the game was played in Vienna. Of course, Josef Krejcik played only in Vienna, and yeah, we are not sure it was tournament, but probably it was some coffee game, because they tested some the new ideas in the openings. So without further ado, let's see what happened in this pretty crazy and very typical for Josef Krejcik game. We have d4, d5, c4, queen's gambit, and now what black usually plays here is of course Slav defense with the c6. We have e6, queen's gambit declined. We have d takes on c4, so queen's gambit accepted. Some more fancy way of playing is, for example, Chigorin with knight c6, or maybe e5, even more fancy way of continuing this with the Albin counter gambit. Now I'm mentioning this for some reason, because now we have knight f6, not really the greatest way of starting, because white always can go for c takes on d5 and then jump to the center, and this is really great advantage for white already. Okay, so however, after knight f3, Josef Krejcik actually went for knight c3, and now again he gave Reti to go for the solid stuff. So again, he can go for the c6, he can go for the e6, and he even can go for the g6 and start the Greenfield defense. However, we have e5, so it's not exactly Albin counter gambit, it's not really the Budapest gambit, but something between. Now what to play? D takes on e5, attacking the knight, and the most logical continuation, and actually the best, would be actually d4. So well-known maneuver. However, after e takes on f6, d takes on c3, white can exchange the queen, so black cannot castle anymore, and after bishop g5, black have to be very precise. But the pawn on c3 also is very annoying, but the position definitely definitely is better for white. However, we don't have d4. We have knight g4, so similar like in the Budapest gambit, and now this pawn is under attack. So we have knight f3 defending, and here the engine actually suggests something like bishop c5. Bishop c5, castle as fast as possible. This is the best what can be done, and of course e3 is obvious move. And then, for example, knight c6, c takes on d5, creating this beautiful center. The knight can take on e5, so win at least one pawn back. And after h3, let's say knight f3, queen f3, knight f6, and let's say bishop d3, and white has one extra pawn, is a bit advanced, however, in the center, so white got a really great position after the opening. So even this, the best move in the position, bishop c5, also d4 could be possible, but you've already seen that white gonna get the better position. So already Richard Reti went for that opening, very shady, and so probably that was some chess coffee game, friendly game. We have bishop b4, actually pinning the knight. Knight is pinned, so this pawn cannot be taken, and in the future maybe d4 could be played. And here, for example, c takes on d5. It looks like obviously good move, and indeed this is just good move. Queen e7, let's say, going after this pawn. This could be played. Bishop f4 defending, so pretty much a positional approach for that. However, we have bishop d2, quite passive move, however it's quite a deep move also. So now Josef Krejcik with white pieces get the really nice advantage. What to play next? d4 probably was the best move in the position, and the point is that after knight d5, let's say bishop d5, queen d2, c6, the knight should retreat somewhere, and this pawn probably gonna be lost if black actually tries to defend. It doesn't look really great, because first of all, this pawn gonna be undermined anyway. Also the knight can retreat, and so on. Also the knight can come, for example, to g5. This knight can be kicked, and white can start the attack on the king side. King is still in the center. It can be actually castled by but the position is really bad for black, very difficult. However, we have queen e7, and it's a typical move, for example, in the Budapest gambit, but it's not the typical Budapest gambit, because now, for example, we have bishop on d2, and here is the biggest issue now. Knight d5 with tempo on the queen and attacking also this bishop twice. Now what black could play, it's some tricky move like bishop c5. And of course, if the queen is lost, we would have a beautiful checkmate. But definitely, you know, Richard Reti doesn't go for the tricks, except one time when I show you the game already against Tartakover, when he checkmated him, I think in 10 or 11 moves, and it's known as the Reti mate. So if you haven't seen that, also you can check this video. Very interesting, very beautiful opening, very nice miniature. So here we have, of course, bishop d2, queen d2, and now the queen is under attack. So what to do as black? Richard Reti would like to actually castle, but first he has to do something with the queen. So queen c5, with the idea, of course, of attacking f2. So with tempo, white has to react. Now white, of course, play e3, and now the problem is, can actually black castle? What would you do in this position? Would you castle immediately or not? Definitely that was preparation, and indeed Richard Reti did castle. However, the best move in the position for some reason is a5. This is Stockfish actually recommend a5, and then after castle, h3, knight h6. What white want to do is move the knight to g5 and then play aggressive f4, g4, because white has two extra pawns which gonna support this attack, and white definitely gonna roll over the black's position of the king. So this was possible. However, we have castle immediately, and now it's time to pause the video and find the winning continuation for white. Okay? It's really, really cool to find. So enjoy while I enjoy my cup of tea. Okay, ready? So first, I'm gonna tell you why I'm creating Josef Krejcik best games, because he follows one motive in these games. So if you found the best move in this position, congratulations. If you haven't, I have a hint for you. Josef Krejcik was known as the person who created probably the most of the queens traps in his career. We have a lot of games. Some of these games won the brilliancy prizes on the tournaments, and he trapped the queen a lot of times. So that's the hint. So I hope you already seen that. Before wins the queen, because the queen has nowhere to go. Watch at this. The knight controls, the pawn controls all of these squares around. The knight is defended, these pawns are defended, all of the squares all over are actually controlled. The knight also controls this square. Queen has nowhere to go. Watch at this, only one square. So in this position, Richard Reti resigned. And he resigned because if he moved to the last square, we're gonna have beautiful royal fork, winning actually the queen. So b4, what a move. Very beautiful move, and we have more games of Josef Krejcik. Tell me, how do you like this idea? Played against a very strong player like Richard Reti, and he of course played a lot against the much weaker players, where he played really dubious openings. He was very weak positional player, but his imagination in chess was just legendary at that time, and I haven't heard about him. I study a lot of games of Capablanca, Aljechin, of that era, Rubinstein and Lasker and so on, but I haven't heard about Josef Krejcik. Shame on me, now I know. And yeah, if you like this video, press like. If for some reason you don't like it, press unlike. And if you want to see more games of Josef Krejcik, drop the comment, press subscribe, smash the bell button. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.